Hi, I'm Lindsay. Thanks for coming back to my channel. This is Doing the Most Design, and you can find me on. And today we're going to be talking about one aspect of the butterfly top, the Kaleidoscope of Butterflies top. We're going to start with the hem. I'm going to show you how you can measure yourself and make this hem very easily. The great thing about it is that this pattern is size inclusive, so continue watching on to see that. The hem is relatively easy to make, but I'm going to share with you a little bit of a key secret. So let's get on into it. Watch all the way into this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hi, I'm Lindsay, the creative mind behind Doing the Most Design. Thanks for coming back to my channel. Friend me on Ravelry at LindsayDTMD. Today we're going to be talking about a Kaleidoscope of Butterflies top, which is my most recent crochet design, now for sale on Ravelry. And we're going to get started today with talking about how to measure for the hem. This pattern is size inclusive, so you don't want to miss my tips on how to measure for this so that it fits you every time. So we're going to get this project started by making the hem. We're going to start with a simple slip knot. Make sure that you leave enough of a tail that you can weave that in later. And then think about how deep you want the hem to be. So this one, I don't remember how many stitches I have, but it is a little deep and it might not be the best for everyone, especially depending if you want to make this like a crop top. Once we have our slip knot on the hook, we are just simply going to chain until our heart says that is deep enough for this hem. Yes. So for me, I'm going to chain just about that because the little sample project that I'm making for these tutorial videos is going to be a smaller scale version of this project. Once I've decided how deep I want the hem to be, I'm going to crochet one more chain. And then this is super simple, y'all. We'll go back into the second chain from the hook and we will do a single crochet only in the back loop of this stitch, and we'll do that across the row. Okay, once we get to the end of this row, we are going to chain one, turn it, and so on subsequent rows, we will only crochet into the front loop of the previous row. So let's look at what that actually means. On this loop, you can see this leg and this leg. Well, when I'm holding my project towards me, this becomes the front leg, and that becomes the back leg. So we are crocheting only into the front leg in order to create a ribbing effect in this project. So I've already done my chain one, doing my single crochets, like this. Don't stab yourself. Alrighty. I've made it to the end of my row. I'm going to chain one, turn, and I will do that again. And we go so on and so forth in this exact same way. Crochet some more of this until I get to a point that I like, and then we will meet up again once I have gotten to that section, and I will show you what we need to do and think about next. So let's talk about how you can measure yourself for this top. Now, first of all, the top is really size inclusive, and I mean that in the most literal sense. I also mean it in the sense that you can make it however long or however short that you want. So when you measure yourself, you should measure around the part that you want the hem to fall on whenever you are finished with a project. So for some people, it's going to be a little bit of a crop top. For other people, it's going to be probably around your hips or anywhere in between. That's 100% up to you. My biggest tip for you, though, is to measure yourself when you are sitting down. I cannot stress that enough, especially for those of you who are, like myself, a lot to love. So, keeping that in mind, you might be one specific dimension when you are standing upright, but when you sit down, this happens to literally everybody, you're going to gain a little bit of girthiness. Okay, so if you do want the top to fall at your hips, then you need to sit down and measure around yourself at the hips. Now, if you are like myself and you have one of these kind of ratchet measuring tapes, these will not go all the way around you if you are like me. So all you need to do is just start crocheting your hem, keep going with it, and then every now and then hold it around yourself when you're sitting. Now, one of the reasons why you want to make sure that you are measuring yourself when you're sitting is because the number of butterflies that are around the torso are going to be dependent on how many rows you have whenever you are crocheting the hem. That means even if the hem fits you when you are standing up, if it doesn't fit you when you're sitting down, you're going to run into a Winnie the Pooh situation where it starts to come up your body. So we don't want that. We don't want that for ourselves. I had that the first time that I made this project, and it was not cute. I ended up going back, dismantling the project a little bit, crocheting more butterflies so it would come down a little bit underneath the roundest part of me, and then it fit a little bit better, and I didn't have it pulling up nearly as much. So we want to avoid that as much as possible with this so that you're feeling really cute when you're wearing it, okay? Additionally, because the number of butterflies that you make for the torso are dependent on how many rows you have in the hem, it is going to be important that you are able to have the correct number of butterflies around your torso so that when you sit, you are not stretching out the butterflies too terribly badly, or heaven forbid, feeling like you are encased in a fishnet stocking. Okay, that's what we're trying to avoid. So we want it to be comfortable, but we want it to be cute and we want it to be comfortable. Okay. Now, having said that, here are a couple of things to keep in mind. Once you've measured yourself and you start crocheting that number of rows so that you're meeting that measurement, you need to then count all of the rows that you have crocheted, and then we need to then crochet up to a multiple of 16. Do not unravel down to a multiple of 16. So let's say that you had a certain number of stitches that go all the way up to a multiple of 16 plus 1. You need to crochet 15 more stitches, all right? Even though there's just that one. The biggest part of that is because, again, we want to make sure that it fits when you're sitting. Then, once you've done that, hold it around yourself again. Now, depending on whether you had that one extra row to go or you had 15 more rows to go, it's going to be a little bit more loose around you. If you want an even looser fit, go another 16 rows. That's my advice for you about how to make sure you're getting a hem that is absolutely wearable for you. Hey, sorry to interrupt what you're making right now. I just want to say how much I appreciate you watching this video. You can show your appreciation for me making this video by either tipping me on Ko-Fi, the link is in the description box below, or liking, sharing, comment, and subscribing to my channel. Every little bit helps, and I really do appreciate it, especially if you don't have the resources to financially support my channel. Thanks so much, and on with the rest of your project. Okay, as you can see here, I have crocheted several rows. I am doing a smaller scale version of the top, so I am only doing 48 rows for this. If you get cross-eyed looking at these rows and counting them, I'm going to give you a very simple tip here about how you can actually keep track of them. All right, so you can see here that we have a row that looks like if you put worms lengthwise, head to foot, head to foot, head to foot. Then we have here a row that looks like a series of knots. Each of these is one separate row. So when you're looking at your work, depending on whether you start with one side or the other, so this side, the first row is the knots. then we have the row of worms, then we have the knots. On this side, it's going to start with the worms, then the knots, then the worms, then the knots. So either way that you look at it, determine which one is basically number two. Is it the knots or is it the worms? On this side, it's going to be the worms because we are starting for this project in specific to count the foundation chain as row number one. So one thing that you can do is then start piecing off as you count up. So it's like worms, knots, 2, worms, 3, knots, 4, worms, knots, 6, worms, knots, 8. Or you can just kind of save yourself some time and start counting up the knots as number 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 20. So that can help you count this, or if you're looking at it and it's hard for you to discern what is what, then that's what is what. The next thing that we want to do is to bring our band together, making sure that we don't have any twists in it. And we are going to put the beginning and the end side by side like this. I'm going to be continuing from my most recent row that I crocheted by doing a chain 1. And then what we want to do is join the beginning and the end rows with slip stitches. So here, because the first row that we did when we crocheted into the front loop, now I have the back loop just hanging out here. I'm going to crochet into the back loop of my beginning chain, and then I'm crocheting into the closest leg of the chain here. So it's the front loop of the end and the back loop of the beginning. We should have the same number of stitches here, so that's a little bit of a heads up that you might have accidentally added a stitch or removed a stitch somewhere along your process if you don't have the same number of stitches here. And there is the last of it. All right, this is now the inside seam. We can open up our project like this. This will now be the outside hem with our seam that is closed up here on the inside. Now what I want to do is to create one layer of single crochets all the way around so that I can then start building from there on my top. Now, for me, what I did for my single crochets is that I then switched over into my main color, and that is what the instructions say. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to continue to use this one white acrylic yarn. So to get us started, I'm going to begin with a single chain. And then what I want to do is to do a single crochet in every row. So earlier we looked at, here's a row of worms, so you can see, and then here's a row of knots. That's what I want to keep in mind and make sure that I'm not doing more single crochets than there are rows. So to start off with, remember my very beginning here was a row of worms. So I'm inserting into this space, big open space. You can see it repeated throughout. And I'm going to do a single crochet in that stitch. Then here on my row of knots, we can find a little hidden space right here. I'm going to do my single crochet in that spot. Here are the worms. Here's this big open spot right here. We will put the crochet hook in through there and do a single crochet. Here's the knots. I'm going to find this little hidden space that's right there. Do my single crochet, big open space, little hidden space. So that's how we're going to do this all the way around. And then just stay consistent. So here I've been using the big open space that is to the left of these stitches, this post stitch. Just stay consistent. If you choose to use the right side of that post, go ahead. Nothing's stopping you. But then make sure that you use the right side every single time. And we will continue like this all the way around. So I'm going to pause myself right here, get caught up to the front, and then I will see you. And we're going to start talking about this butterfly stitch, y'all. Yeah. I have done single crochets all the way around this band, as you can see, all the way back to my seam. But what I want to do is really make sure that I still have the same number of single crochets as I had rows. So previously when I counted my rows, I counted 48. This time now when I'm going to count my stitches, I should still have 48. Okay, and as I see here, I have 47, 48. So when my very next thing that I'm going to do is put a slip stitch into this stitch right here, which now means that this stitch has become number 48. This was number 47. Okay, we need to do that in order to make sure that our number of stitches in order to do the butterfly stitch is correct and accurate. So yay, we got there. Thanks for making it to the end of this video. If you have not done it yet, hit like and subscribe so you can be notified when I put out more content for you. I'd love for you to connect with me on Ravelry at LindsayDTMD. Check out my link tree for a collection of my projects. And if you're able to, leave a cash tip for me at my Ko-Fi page. All links are in the video description below. Don't forget to be kind to yourself as you learn, and thanks for spending your time with me. Bye!